Hey everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com, and as I get to do once a week, every week, I get to say today is hump day. It is Today in Sports Betting, the Wednesday edition. First of all, we're going to take a look at the NBA. It's the playoffs, everybody, and who better to help us examine the playoffs? You know him, you love him. It's the master of disaster. It is Scott Reichel. What's up, buddy?
Nothing much. Pretty interesting day in the NBA yesterday. I know that we had some upsets to talk about. I expect an apology from you on one of the games we're going to be getting to in a little while. But yeah, overall, basketball was fine. I know I personally lost the play that ended the Thunder money line, which is upsetting because the two other plays I thought about giving out both won. So I picked. I had a 66% chance of picking out the right play, and unfortunately, I picked out a whammy. So overall, fine, and hopefully, I'd say today we bounced back quite nicely on the play today.
Yeah, okay. That's good. That's good. First of all, I don't apologize for making bad picks because, statistically speaking, since somewhere in the mid 40s, hopefully, or my picks are going to be bad picks. So I don't apologize for making a bad pick. I will say that you were absolutely correct on that game, and I was wrong. I believed much more in the Lakers. I thought that they had I thought they were giving them the old okey doke. I thought that the team had been taking their foot off the gas and were ready to punch the accelerator once the playoffs started.
It looked that way midway through the fourth quarter.
It did. Lakers up by 6. I'm like, okay, we're going to get out of this. Okay, I'm not going to hit my over, but that's all right. 40-point third quarters will doom you when you're looking for 230. But no, the Portland Trailblazers were able to respond. They were able to put the Lakers in their place, and most importantly, Scott, they were able to play some defense.
Mostly Hassan Whiteside, who pretty much changed the entire game defensively in the fourth quarter.
Well, that's what I said, and then you mentioned everybody else on the Portland team. I said he was really the guy that won the game. And
no, he was the guy who won the game defensively. I was just acknowledging the fact that in addition to him playing well, it also helps when people like Caldwell Pope and Danny Green can't hit water when they fell out of a boat.
Well, that's true too. So I don't know. It was.
I still said before Game 1, I thought the Lakers would lose Game 1 and win the series in 6. So I'm not overreacting as somebody who has a Lakers future ticket. Do I think they're going to win the championship? No. I said that before the season. I said that before the playoffs started. I just think the Clippers are the better overall team. But I am not going to overreact for losing Game 1. LeBron, yes, he had a triple double, 20 points, 17 assists, whatever. At the end of the day, you have Gary Trent on. You take it to the damn rim. It's the same story that I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. I understand you want to get your teammates involved. You have to realize who your teammates are. At some point, you got to be averaging 30 points per game. I get it. You want to get your teammates, you've been an assist guy all year. That's fine. It's the playoffs. You have Gary Trent on you and Melo on you. At least go to the foul line. Do something.
I guess they said that was the first time that anybody had gone for, what do you go for, 2015 and 15?
2015, 15, and 15. Yeah, like 2015, 15, I think.
Yeah, first time anybody done that in the NBA playoffs, which was surprising. And secondly,
congratulations, you lost.
Was that the quietest triple double you've ever saw in your life?
LeBron had basically a triple double at half, and I feel like he didn't do anything. And maybe it's just the fact that every single time he chose to go to the rim, for the most part, he had a turnover late in the fourth quarter when he jumped and then panicked and passed the ball out of bounds. But for the most part, LeBron, whenever he decided to take it to the rim, he got a free layup. And he just decided to never take it to the rim. And at some point, I get, you want to pass it and make the right basketball play. But when Caldwell Pope was 0 for 9 and Danny Green's 4 for 12, I think the right play might be to actually just take the ball yourself,
Just dreadful.
Am I wrong there, or am I speaking for both of you right now?
Assuming he still has the ability to do that,
I have to assume he can if he has the ability to go for 20, 15, and 15. LeBron's going to need to average 30 per game. And I've been saying that going into the series the entire time. Anthony Davis didn't do much in the second half. Portland had made some adjustments defensively, which I give him credit for. But really, Gary Trent Jr. and Melo was on you, and you decided to keep passing out of I didn't get it.
Yeah, that was the Lakers were outscored 43-37 in the second half. I don't know what I'm watching there.
It wasn't pretty, but the issue that I said going into the series is that I thought Whiteside would be a key because of the fact that McGee and Dwight Howard offer nothing offensively. So Whiteside, even though he might be awful defensively on the perimeter, he doesn't need to be on the perimeter. So he's just going to sit there while McGee and or Howard clog the lane, and he's going to get free block attempts. That's exactly what happened. He had 5 blocks in the game.
You're absolutely right. So it was kind of a day where the books got even, Scott. They went after the favorites went 20-1.
Well, that's actually what I was going to say. Somehow the Lakers weren't the most disappointing 1 seed in the playoffs yesterday.
Oh, God. No kidding. We kicked the day off with just a dreadful game by the Bucks, and I don't think.
Considering the fact that I didn't actually have any money on it personally, I was laughing for about 3 quarters. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I didn't play that one either. I
thought about maybe doing what a lot of people on Twitter did, which was jumping on the Bucks at half, just assuming that Orlando will probably fade. Milwaukee was going on a bit of a run in the third quarter before Giannis had that Zaza Pachulia rule technical foul or flagrant on that 3-point attempt where they got 3 free throws in the ball, whatever. But it looked like Milwaukee was starting to hone it in defensively. And then the second half started, and so many coaches yesterday, I actually don't even know what they're doing. And I've mentioned that to you in the past, how a lot of NBA coaches I think are extremely overrated. I've mentioned Budenholzer in the past. He's a good regular season coach, doesn't really win games in the playoffs. At what point do you decide that the man who should guard Vucevic when he has 20-something points is Marvin Williams? At what point did you realize during half that Marvin Williams was the key defensively to guard a guy who's roughly 7 feet tall? I don't know what was going on. You have Giannis and you have Brook Lopez. Now, I know that Giannis is a little bit skinnier than Vucevic, and you don't want him to get into foul trouble. I know Lopez might be a little bit slow. I get it. Marvin Williams, what are you doing? It just made no sense. Vucevic was getting free layups on every single possession. He ended up with 35.
Yeah, I didn't understand that game. The Bucks made no move in the second half. That was and then the other big one. It wasn't really an upset, but it was a kind of a surprise the way it went since they were without Westbrook.
Well, that was the game that killed me. But that was another. I don't know what Billy Donovan's defensive game plan was.
Yeah, I had that as a premium play as well. I really thought the Thunder would show up. I didn't think Harden.
At least defensively, I know Gilgeous-Alexander was terrible, and I'm okay if you're a young guy, you have an off game. Of course, you don't want it to be against Houston in Game 1 when you have money on Oklahoma City. I have no idea what that defensive game plan was the entire game. I really thought Oklahoma City would just force the ball out of Harden's hands and, play some quality 3-point defense. And instead, Harden went for 37, and they had wide open 3-pointers all the time. Which I don't know what they were trying to do.
Well, the thing is, Harden getting 37 isn't going to necessarily let you.
It was an efficient 47, which was
that's not going to beat you most nights.
12 for 22 though. That's a really efficient 37 that'll probably kill you.
It is. You just can't let Green go for 22 and Gordon go for 21. I mean,
the main thing was I said the supporting cast was terrible, and then Green and Gordon. Gordon was the bigger shocker because he came back from injury like 2 games ago and he was terrible all season long. They were both great, and there wasn't really anything you can do about it. But anytime you let Houston go 20 for 52 from the 3-point line, it's not going to go too well. And that's
no. And I
don't think Donovan made many adjustments either.
I don't know what happened to Chris Paul.
That's fair too. He did not look good.
I don't know what happened to him on the defensive end. He just completely disappeared. So.
Correct. And then you also had the Vogel issues. I mentioned I about a week and a half ago, I didn't think Vogel was good with his rotations. And yesterday I thought his rotations were terrible. And he kept bringing Caldwell Pope when he couldn't hit anything. And there are 5 minutes left, and he's still using Caldwell Pope in the game, and he's 0 for 8 from the floor. He misses another fadeaway jump shot, and I'm thinking to myself, are you going to put in Morrison? Are you going to, do something? No? All right, cool, I guess. And just lose the game. It's okay.
So the only game that went remotely, according to plan, was
the Miami game. We were both
Miami.
I thought you might have leaned to Indiana in that one. I don't remember. I know I was all over Miami on that one.
Yeah, Miami's a solid squad, and I was curious to see how they played in the playoff. They played well in the bubble.
It depends on what you think of the regular season meetings, and I know that, in my opinion, the Heat before the finale, where everyone sat, the Heat were undefeated. And I just know that they matched up better against Indiana. and he had to look good early on, and then Oladipo got scratched in the eye. I don't want to compare it to the Porzingis game for the Mavericks, but it was one of the situations where one of their best players got injured, and the entire momentum just flipped in the arena, and the other team just basically coasted after that.
Yeah, well, the Heat outscored them by 11 in the fourth quarter and win the game by 12. So that really it made all the difference there late in the game. So Scott, let me ask you, of the two 1-8 games, either one of those 8 teams have a chance to run it out?
Well, I think that my answer to this. As even though I picked Portland to win game 1, which I did, I still have the Lakers in 6. So I still don't really give Portland much of a shot. The truth is that even though the Portland did win game 1, and even though that is, a great sign because you kind of needed to steal game 1,
yeah,
I really wasn't impressed with how Portland played. I know defensively that they were good. Can we acknowledge how awful the Lakers were and how they still were up 6 in the middle of the fourth quarter?
Yeah, that's
the Lakers played awful for maybe 2.5 quarters. They looked good in the second quarter. Second quarter, they went on a run. They cut it. I get it. And they looked really good for the first half of the fourth quarter. But for the most part, the Lakers just couldn't do anything. The supporting cast was useless. And yet I'm looking at the scoreboard with a live Portland -1.5 ticket after the first quarter. And I'm thinking to myself, how are the Lakers tied right now? Like, how are the Lakers up 6? They've been terrible the entire game.
Yeah, I know.
And yet Portland just let them back in. There's some really bad shot selections on both teams. Hazonia still playing 10-plus minutes is going to be a problem because I've talked about how I think he might be the worst player in the NBA for the last couple of weeks, and yet they're still just giving him minutes. He was 0 for 2 in 12 minutes, and he was -12 from the floor. He just can't do anything.
Right.
And I think Portland actually benefits from Collins being injured. I think Gabriel right now might be a better player than Zach Collins. And that might sound controversial because Collins was a former first-round pick and he was good at Gonzaga. I think Collins stinks. I think Hazonia stinks. I think Wayne Gabriel actually brings something to the table as a power forward. I think he's actually a relatively smart player, and he won't settle for 7 threes a game while making one of them. And I think Zach Collins is one of those guys. So I think if Collins comes back and Gabriel gets less minutes, I actually think Portland's going to get worse.
Yeah, I'm not I think, man, Portland's only playing 8 guys right now, and I'm not sure.
And I don't even know if they can get away with playing 8.
No,
I still think Hazonia stinks.
Well, yeah, you can't play 8 when one of them is Hazonia.
Do you agree with me about Hazonia? Because I watch him on the floor, and he looks like a chicken without a head. I don't know what he's doing half the time.
I don't.
He's trying to play point guard, I guess, and he's trying to start some sets. And then he's taking some fadeaway threes over Kuzma. And I'm wondering, you have McCollum on the floor. Do you really want to be taking shots with Hazonia here with 18 on the shot clock? Probably not.
That's probably not your idea. That's probably not the way they drew it up.
Oh, that also reminded me of that LeBron shot late in the fourth quarter, though, when he chucked it from the parking lot.
What was that about? Plenty of time.
LeBron occasion he'll take these 45-footers, and I'm just going, all right, I guess he almost airballed the thing, but I'm like, okay.
It just barely ticked off the front of the rim.
I was saying thank you because I had Portland money line and I had Portland -1.5. And I think Portland was up 2 at the time.
Yeah, that was
turned the ball over, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, try to get a defensive stop, and I see LeBron chuck it from 40, and I'm like, all right, thanks. I'll take that.
All right. Well, you know what? We got another day.
But to answer your question, who I think has a better chance of winning the series, even though I have Portland losing in 6, it's got to be Portland. I'm not picking Orlando to beat Milwaukee in the series. I can't. Is it possible? Yes. Has Milwaukee been terrible since the restart? Yes. But at the end of the day, Orlando is missing Aaron Gordon. They won anyway. And I got to just assume that Milwaukee's going to bounce back and win the series. It's tough. But if you're talking about who I think is the better chance, I'd have to go Portland because I think Portland was going to win 2 games before the series started anyway.
Well, let's talk about today's games. We'll start with what may be the best team in the NBA right now.
The Brooklyn Nets.
It's the Brooklyn Nets. That's right. It is the Raptors and Nets. Raptors 11.5.
I wasn't sure if we were going to go over this game because it's at 1:30. But
yeah, we'll hit it real quick. We always like to put up just our.
Well, one general trend I want to break down quickly is that the one thing I've noticed, and you might have noticed this as well. Have you noticed that Game 2 spreads have looked exactly the same as Game 1?
For the most part, I know
a couple half points here or there, but for the most part, it's pretty close.
Yeah, they haven't. Toronto's probably the biggest difference right now. They were at 10, and now they're 11.5. Although they opened at 11, so it's gone up half a point.
It's probably not even high enough after Game 1.
I don't. Yeah, I you know,
I'd have to lean to Toronto, but if I really wanted to lean anywhere, I just lean to Toronto team total over.
I'm
Scored
a little.
130 something points.
I got to admit, I'm a little
It's
gun
tough.
shy about taking double digit spreads at this point. But I do like this Toronto team. I think they're playing. I think they're playing the best basketball right now.
Well, they are. So they were my sleeper pick to win the East. I have them in my bracket to win the East before losing to the Clippers in the finals. And right now, I got to feel pretty good about my chances. I thought I had the Heat playing the Milwaukee in the second round, and I had the Heat losing in 7. I think they could win the series. I think Milwaukee's really got some serious problems, and the main issue I have with them, I know that the whole team didn't perform that well yesterday, is Chris Middleton.
Right.
And once again, as the quote-unquote second best player of a team, I don't think he's good enough to be the second best player on a championship team. And you saw yesterday, he went AWOL, and they needed him, and he scored, 14 points?
Yeah, absolutely disappeared. So, I will. I'll give a lean to the Raptors. There, are you the same way?
I give a lean to the Raptors, but I'd feel pretty confident about the team total over because that Nets team can't guard anybody.
Famous last words.
I was just going to say, Toronto benched pretty much their entire starting unit for most of the fourth quarter, and they still scored 130-something points.
Yeah, 118.5 is the number there. That's probably the play I'd go with.
It's high, but I don't think the Nets are going to have enough answers to stop Toronto offensively. Toronto's so deep that I don't think Brooklyn really has a shot. I give them props for cutting it to 8 at some point in the fourth quarter, but then Toronto realized, oh, wait a second, we have to try again? All right, cool, we'll win by 25 again.
Yeah, they were able to actually turn it back on. And I'm with you. I don't want to overreact after yesterday's games, but a lot of the factors that normally favor the favorites like that, like home court advantage and things like that, don't exist this year. So I give the 8 seeds a puncher's chance. It's they're certainly.
I'm just saying I give Portland a much stronger puncher's chance than Orlando because Orlando, even though they did win game 1, they had a lot of players play well, probably above how they should. I know Awudu was actually looking really good. Gary Clark, I didn't realize was on Orlando, and he hit a couple threes. I haven't heard that name in probably about 3 years.
Good guitar player, though.
Yes, that is definitely true. But, yeah, hit a couple threes there, and I knew Vucevic was a good player. But
Right.
if I told you Aaron Gordon was not going to play and I told you Bucks and 4, you'd probably say, of course. So I'm not going to go ahead and overreact to Orlando that, they're going to take care of business. Well, could they win another game? Maybe. But I think Portland, I said Lakers in 6 once again, and nothing surprised me about game 1 of that series.
Well, and we'll talk tomorrow when we see the spreads about whether there's going to be any value on a bounce back there for these teams. Because there could be an overreaction on the lines. I'm curious to see.
I'm really curious how the overreaction on the total is going to be for the game 2 of the Lakers Portland series. That game 1 went under by. I don't even want to know how many points that went under by.
I don't even want to tell you. So.
That's because you had it, but would that go under by like 40?
Yeah.
Can you move the total down to like 210, 220? Because I don't know if you can keep it at 234.
229 right now, buddy. Almost the same place it opened.
That's what I'm saying. It kind of makes you wonder if that game's just an anomaly or if maybe the books are just daring you to take the under and they're just going to absolutely burn you.
Lakers by 6, 229. Welcome to yesterday.
Yeah, it's just all deja vu from game 2 to game 1 in pretty much every series.
Yeah. Bucks by 12.5, 227.5.
Yep. Of course, there's a couple of differences, maybe a point or a half point difference. Main differences between the Rockets. I know Oklahoma City was -1. Now Houston's -2. I'm kind of shocked Houston's only -2, honestly, after such a good performance in game 1. Yep. But all the spreads and totals are roughly where they were in game 1.
Utah Jazz and the Denver Nuggets. Scott, Nuggets by 4. A little bit of juice to the Jazz, catching points there. 217.
I know that Conley's out for this game. He should be back for game 3. Just so he's not going to miss the entire series. He should be back for game 3. And I know that Denver on paper should win this game pretty easily after, winning in overtime and everything. The last 2 meetings they won in overtime. But I got to tell you, I like Utah today. Something about Denver. I told you before the playoffs I wasn't sold. I think that there's something missing involving a killer instinct with this team. I don't know if it's a Mike Malone thing as a coach. I don't know what the story is. But Utah, I think, knows that they can't really go down 2-0. I know Mitchell can't be guarded by anybody on Denver's roster. And they were really close to winning game one. And I think that 4 is I think it's a little bit too high, honestly. I know that they won game one by 10, but it went to overtime. And I think Utah can win this game. So for me, I'm going to lean to Utah.
Okay. All right, good enough. I like the Nuggets there. I like what Jokic is doing.
Are you sold on Denver completely, or do you agree with me that there's something a little bit off on this team when it comes to just teams away?
I don't think they're an elite team, but I do like
they're like up 10, and then you immediately assume like, oh, this game's going to become a 3-point game for some reason.
I like what they're doing. I like the way they're utilizing Jokic, and I like the way that they have to pull Rudy Gobert outside to guard him on the perimeter. I think it opens up the lanes.
Do you agree with me though? That like Denver in game one was up double digits in the third quarter, and you're thinking this game should be over, and then Utah is just like, no, we're just going to go on a brief run, and Denver's going to do nothing about it and make no adjustments before winning in overtime.
Yeah,
There's something about Denver. I don't know what it is, but like when they're winning, I have no faith in them maintaining a lead. I just don't.
Okay, no, that's something to keep an eye on. That's the 4:00 game today. You want to get involved with that 217?
Not really. I know both teams performed well offensively, but the game also went to overtime. If I really had to lean anywhere, I know money's coming on the under. I'd probably lean to the over because I know that nobody on Utah can guard Jamal Murray, and I know that nobody on Denver can guard Donovan Mitchell. And when you have two somewhat unguardable guys who will go for 30 plus almost every time they play against the opposing team, I got to lean to the over.
Yeah, and Denver has since Murray came back, they're averaging 2 more 3-pointers per game.
Murray's been great since he came back.
Yeah, I like that, and I like what they're doing. I like this Denver team. I like them to get out of this round. You know, they're not quite there yet, but
I think they're going to win the round also. I just don't think they're going to take a 2-0 lead. But would I be surprised if Denver did? No. On paper, they should win this game. No, 9 times out of 10 on paper?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, but the fact that it went to overtime in game one and the fact that they couldn't make any adjustments to guard Mitchell makes me kind of question this team's focus at times.
Yeah, we'll see if they can maintain focus, and is the problem with a young team. 76ers, Celtics 4.5.
I don't get the line move.
215.5.
I don't get it. 70. I understand game one. Celtics were roughly minus, I'd say 6, give or take 5.5, 6.
Yeah, right around there.
Yeah. Why is money coming in on Philly?
Injuries.
I don't get it. Unless the logic is Embiid couldn't be stopped. They stopped giving him the ball in the fourth. You know, Embiid should go for like 35. And I can understand that logic if that's what you think. But I don't know why people think Philly's going to be competitive in this game when I know for a fact they're going to get outcoached in the fourth quarter of every single game.
They're going to miss it because they're missing Hayward. I think it's an overreaction to the Hayward injury.
I don't think Hayward's worth that much.
Well, that's the question.
Yeah, it's the depth, but if Jaylen Brown and Tatum are playing, as you saw in game one, they both went off in game one. Philly can't guard anybody. Philly can't guard anybody on the perimeter.
I think part of that is the interview that they did with what they did with Embiid after the game, where he said he's going to have to be more of a factor and take over the game. I think people are buying into that.
I think it depends on coaching. I think it depends if you run up plays, and I'm sure Boston knows for a fact they're going to go to Embiid pretty much all the time.
Well, I think he was unstoppable. He was unstoppable.
Yeah. And then they just stopped giving him the ball, and then they were relying on Alec Burks to take big shots in the fourth quarter. He made a couple of big shots, but this is why I don't like Brett Brown. I just don't know what he's doing in the fourth quarter of most of his games. The only thing I know about the Celtics is that Tatum was great, Brown was great, and Kemba looked healthy. And if Kemba looks as good as he did in game one, Philly's going to have some serious issues in the series.
Yeah,
Kemba was great in game one.
Yeah, he was very good. And, this is
I'm leaning Boston here because I can't back Brett Brown plus 4.5 against Brad Stevens. I can't do it.
It does seem like a good time to buy on the Celtics. But they just, I don't know. This is a team, like I said, they have no answer for Embiid.
They can't rebound in this series.
Right. They, you saw the Embiid, getting, 2 or 3 tips to himself.
Yeah.
Nobody else really competing for any boards.
Tice is trying his best out there. He can't do much. I expect more of Williams in the future because of his athleticism. Maybe he can do something. I agree. That's an issue on the boards, and I acknowledge that.
Like the little brother trying to jump for the ball as the big brother just holds it.
Yes, I agree with the rebounding disadvantage for Boston. The main issue I have with Philly is the supporting cast. I just can't do it. You're just relying on Burks and Richardson and maybe Korkmaz for a little bit. You're relying on them to make big shots here. Like I can't. The only way I see Philly covering is if Embiid goes for 40 or like 35. I know game one was close. I know Philly went on a little bit of a run in the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then they fell apart defensively, and the Celtics coasted in the second half of the fourth. I kind of see the same story happening. Philly can't guard anybody in the perimeter. Tobias Harris is not a good defender at all. They're probably going to put Tybal on Tatum moving forward. I think Tybal should start. I think he should be guarding Tatum the entire game. But I don't trust Brad Stevens. I don't trust Brett Brown in close games. And at a 4.5 spread, I have to lean to Boston because they're just significantly better coached. I
got to tell you, the Phillies won the season series with Boston.
Simmons also played in all those games, but yeah,
you're right. I don't know. I think Embiid has 35 in him today.
I think he could. I just think you'd be better off if you like Philly plus the 4.5. I think you'd just be better off taking the Embiid player prop over. That's the only way that they're going to be competitive in this game.
Yeah, that's. If
Embiid goes for 25, they're losing by double digits.
Yeah, it does seem like Boston is a bit of a bargain here. And we're going to see what kind of an impact the loss of Hayward has. Do you think
Hayward has much of an impact? I know that he helps with the scoring. He's not a good defender. He's not really a great passer. Ball handling is decent. I don't think he's as valuable as the odds suggest. He's a good player. I just think he's a great player.
You don't think he's worth 1.5 points?
Not really, honestly. Mm-hmm. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure I buy that.
Wait, you don't buy my opinion on that? Or you don't buy that he's actually worth?
I don't buy your opinion on it. I think he's worth 1.5 points.
Agree to disagree. I think they're more valuable players on the Celtics than Gordon Hayward.
Well, yeah, there's people that are worth more than 1.5 points. I agree.
The only thing you have to wonder is with Hayward out, does that mean that Tatum and Brown are going to get more minutes?
Yeah, it has to.
I'm okay with that. That's one of the trade-offs. I'm okay with Tatum getting 40-something minutes instead of 35 minutes. I'll live with that.
All right. I'm not getting involved in that. It's a.
You're not going to know until you actually see them play without Hayward. I just don't think it's going to make much of an impact.
Right. I might consider making an in-game play on that, but
yeah, if they look lost offensively, then you can make the argument saying, "Oh, in play, they needed Hayward for a spark." I just don't think they need Hayward for a spark.
Clippers and Mavs, Scott. Clips -6, 230 is the number there.
It's the same exact thing as game one.
Yeah.
This is my play that I went back to the well. I went to the Clippers -6.
Okay.
I find this line very fascinating to me. I know Porzingis is questionable with a knee injury, so he ended up getting ejected, and now he might not even play in game 2 because he's injured. He had the heel issue. I guess the knee thing is new. That happened in game 1 at some point, I guess.
Yeah.
But the only thing I know is that you can make the argument that Dallas should have won game 1 if Porzingis was able to stay healthy and play the entire game. I think you can make that argument. I think that's a very, very legitimate claim.
Absolutely.
So I think that this line is very telling. I think they're basically daring you to take Dallas.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm taking the Clippers. I think the Clippers did enough in game 1, considering the fact that Doncic still had 42 points, which their defense was terrible on him, but they did force 11 turnovers. I hate the supporting cast for Dallas. I know that Steph Curry was pretty good. I know that Hardaway was pretty good. You had Finney-Smith, who didn't do anything offensively because he's not a shooter at all. You had Kleber, who was awful. You had Trey Burke, who was terrible.
Yeah, I know you're not a Trey Burke fan.
Trey Burke doesn't bother me. It just when you rely on him to play 25 minutes a game, you have serious problems. I think he's okay if you play him kind of like Azonia. You play him 10 minutes and just say, give me 2-3 buckets. I'm like, all right, that's fine, I guess. But you're going to give him 25 minutes and he's going to give you 3 points? Like, really? At that point, you're just there for cardio.
Okay.
So I like the Clippers there. I thought that even though they did struggle a little bit in stretches in the first half, second half they looked a lot better defensively as a whole. Beverly was still a little bit rusty because it was his first game in a while. Lou Williams was great. Harold didn't look great, but I expect him to look better moving forward. And Kawhi and Paul George just took turns to do whatever they wanted offensively in that game. So I'm going to lean to the Clippers. I think they'll win the game pretty handily.
I'll fade you on the nightcap again. I like if Porzingis plays. If Porzingis plays,
Well, even if he plays, what percentage do you think Porzingis is right now? 60?
I think he's more than that.
70? With the heel injury and the knee injury?
I don't think he plays if he's not 80-85%.
I think he'd play if he's 70, but we'll see how that works out. Okay. But it's just a matter of I think that this line is questionable, and after the game one results, and I still think the Clippers are the best team in the league. So I think Dallas defensively is going to struggle, and I think besides Doncic, even an injured Porzingis, I don't know how much faith you can put in him. I don't trust anybody on Dallas' supporting cast.
I think if you play the Clippers here, I think you almost have to play the under. I think you almost have to couple it with the under.
I don't know if you can say that because Dallas's defense is so bad that the Clippers can go for 120 and it wouldn't surprise me. They can go for 120, 130.
I think if they go for 120, 125, something like that, I think that they beat Dallas by 15, 20 points.
As far as I'm concerned, the Clippers are the better offensive and the better defensive team, and Dallas' second best player is injured. So I think the Clippers could roll here, and it really wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Then again, I'm also a lot higher on the Clippers than you have been over the last. I said the Clippers are the best team in the league about 2 weeks ago, and you laughed at me.
No, I think Toronto's a better team. They may be the best team in the West after the first set of games.
Okay, I have Clippers Toronto in my bracket in title game. So
I don't hate that.
So I'm really high on the Clippers. I've been saying since the beginning of the year that they're the best team in the league. So
all right, fair enough. There you go. That's an NBA show, buddy.
A little bit longer. Sorry if we ranted a little bit, but a lot of stuff going on in the NBA.
Well, we finally had some meaningful games to talk about as far as a review goes. When we didn't have to talk about the New Orleans Wizards game.
That's a shame. I love talking about the New Orleans Wizards game.
Really nothing to talk about there. So we finally
had. Quick question for you: which 1C was more disappointing for you yesterday?
Which 1C was more disappointing?
I know that you had money on I know that you had money with the Lakers, and I get it. So you might say the Lakers. I think it has to be Milwaukee.
I would say the Bucks.
It has to be Milwaukee if you're looking at who they're playing against.
I think because Portland's a much better team than Orlando. That's the thing there. Portland has a.
I think that loss to Orlando might have been the worst loss of any team in the bubble. You can make the argument Portland maybe losing to the Clippers bench players in the fourth quarter, which definitely didn't look good. But the Bucks did lose to the Nets, but that
was the worst.
But the Bucks benched all the starters at halftime.
They were down 10 at halftime.
I know they were, but I'm just saying the starters didn't play in the second half. If you look at who Orlando is throwing out there without Aaron Gordon, that is that's not great.
The bucket of warm spit is what it was.
You're going through the lineups, and you see Wes Iwudu in the lineup alongside with DJ Augustine. You had Fournier, who was awful yesterday. Fournier had like 3 points the entire game.
I don't know.
You're looking at that lineup, and you're wondering, how is Orlando going to score? And I was like, oh, no, they had 122. I'm like, how do you allow 122 points? I don't know. So I agree with you. I think it was Milwaukee. I don't think it was really that close. Portland has proven that even though they're an 8 seed by number, they're probably, the fourth best team in the West, third best team in the West?
Somewhere in that neighborhood, yeah, I would say so. And
so I can give the Lakers a bit of a pass despite the complete no-show offensively.
Okay. All right, good enough. All right, bud. Let's see how we do. It should be another fun day in the bubble. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting.
The public's going to be praying for some favorites today.
Public gave away all their money yesterday. They really did.
They're going to be going back to the well here. I think there's going to be money on the Clippers. There's going to be money on Toronto, of course. I think Toronto's going to close probably at 12.5, 13.
They're at 12.5 now. So
are they? I see 11.5, but I expect money to pour in on Toronto right before opening tip.
We'll see.
I don't know who's betting the Nets. I'll tell you that much. Besides sharp players and contrarians.
Yeah, I agree. A little bit of juice to the Toronto side right there. Yeah, you could see 12.5 by the time the day's over. So
I expect that to be the case.
All right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about it, and we'll be back in just a minute on the Major League Baseball side on Today in Sports Betting. So, for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at Winners and Winers, reminding you to stop by and check out Winners and Winers for your more deeper dives into all of these games. You got some great handicappers over there writing pieces on each and every game every day. So check it out, winnersandwiners.com. And, of course, don't forget to tell your friends. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All that good stuff. For myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us at Winners Whiners, wishing you good luck today on the NBA. And we'll see you tomorrow on Today in Sports Betting. Take care. Clear.